Hi, I'm David Mann with Tracks and Roots. I've gotten a question about poisonous mushrooms in the area, more specifically about the threat that they may pose to dogs. What I can tell you is that we do have an abundance in Central Virginia of this specific group of mushrooms, the Phalloideae division of the Amanita genus. You see them all over the place, particularly right now. They have four features that are very characteristic of Amanita mushrooms, Amanita phalloideae mushrooms. So we have some examples to show you today. So there's this one right here that I'm looking at. See, it's got a gives us a pretty good example of two of those features. One is scales on the cap of the mushroom. So scales are pieces of material that are sticking to that cap and that can be removed by rain, or they can be picked off very carefully. You can pick them off the mushroom, which also means they may not necessarily be present. They may have been washed off or knocked off before you ever found the mushroom. The other feature is what's called the vulva. So it's down at the base of the mushroom. You look at where the stipe, that is the stalk of the mushroom, that meets the ground. If you have sort of a cup-like structure there, you'll see space, short sort of wall, flap of material between that and the stipe of the mushroom. That's what's called the vulva. Now, both the vulva and the scales are remnants of the universal veil of the mushroom, okay? So the universal veil is a layer of tissue that surrounds the entirety of the mushroom in its early development. So one way you may encounter these mushrooms, you may see them looking like an egg coming out of the ground. Okay, they may look very much like a puffball, actually, in this instance. All right, so it'll look like an egg coming out of the ground. As the mushroom develops, that universal veil splits open, and then you see the mushroom structure inside of it. Yeah, so the Amanita phalloideae mushrooms, they are important for foragers because this is the top way that foragers get themselves killed or seriously hurt while foraging for mushrooms. These are responsible for, I forget what the percentage is, some high percentage, 90%, 95%, something like that, of mushrooming fatalities. So this is a very important one to know, and it's something I really emphasize whenever I'm teaching mushrooms. That's why for instance, if you find a puffball, or what you believe to be a puffball mushroom, you want to cut it in half from top to bottom and look at the inside of that mushroom. In a puffball, it will be nice, soft, uniform, and structureless, much like a marshmallow. In one of these mushrooms, if you cut it in half, it's in that early stage, that egg stage, you cut it in half, you will see the outline of the developing mushroom on the inside. And if the inside of your alleged puffball, if it is colored yellow, brown, whatever, it's not white, that could mean a couple different things. It could mean it's too mature, you don't want to eat it, or it could mean it's something like an earth ball, which is potentially another poisonous mushroom. The phalloideae mushrooms, they do pose a hazard to dogs. Okay, a dog that eats that can be killed by it, so you want to stop your dogs from eating these. So maybe a good idea to keep your dogs on a leash, or to pick mushrooms basically out of the yard where you let your dogs roam. Pick them all and put them in your compost side of the yard, an area where the dogs can't get to, or throw them in the trash even if you'd like to. Use hygiene as a means to protect dogs. That's about probably the only thing I would do. I suppose you could treat your yard with a fungicide. I hate the idea of doing that though, dumping a bunch of toxic chemicals into the yard. I suppose you could also do something to lower the pH of the yard, but I don't know, what could you get to grow there at that point? It doesn't sound like a very good idea to me. I think probably picking the mushrooms and discarding them is the best way. That, or keeping the dogs in a leash, of course, is probably the best way to keep dogs safe from these sorts of mushrooms.